Consider this your legacy gift to the company. That was the message. Sent at 5:43 p.m., while I was in Dubai in a glass conference room, about to close the deal I built from scratch. $42 million, months of work, and a single sentence to erase me. My name is Ethan Vale, 36 years old, international technical consultant. I'm the reason the numbers hold. When a contract clears without revisions, it's because I buried the risk before it reached legal. I've secured access to 3 continents without flying a single executive. Every deal that turned heads at the board level passed through my hands first, quietly, precisely, without fanfare. I never asked for credit. I just kept delivering. And now I'd been thanked with a sentence. I didn't respond. I just locked my phone. The contract lay open on the table. 3 men from the Ministry of Infrastructure sat across from me, pressed collars, dust on their sleeves, engineers who spent more time on site than in offices. They waited, patient, respectful, not realizing I'd just been erased. I pointed to the final clause, delivery conditions and post-signature access. They read it slowly. One adjusted his glasses, then they nodded. I'll send confirmation within the hour, I said. I closed the folder, slid the pen into its loop, zipped the case, then stood, not in anger, not in hesitation, just habit. I left through the side door. The hallway outside was narrow, with lighting that flickered in one corner. A mirror stood across from the elevator's full-length brushed metal frame. I didn't stop, but I looked. The man staring back didn't blink. At the stairwell, I reached into the lining of my case. There's a hidden seam, stitched by hand 2 years ago. From it, I pulled a small flash drive. Black. No label. Just presence. No logo. No branding. Just the kind of thing no one notices, until it's missing. I turned it once in my fingers, then slipped it into the inside pocket of my blazer, pressed the fabric flat, adjusted the cuffs, and walked. I took the stairs down. 12 floors, each landing quieter than the last. In the lobby, I moved through the guests unnoticed. Tourists dragged luggage. A businessman argued over check-in. None of them mattered. At the cafe, I ordered a double espresso. No sugar, no milk. The barista took the order silently. That suited me. I waited with one hand resting on the counter, the other inside my coat, still covering the pocket. The cup came with a chip on the handle. I took it, moved to the farthest table. Corner seat. Back to the wall. View of both entrances. I didn't check my phone, didn't open my laptop, didn't scroll. I just waited. One sip. Bitter. Clean. Sharp. The table was cold under my fingers. A line of condensation formed near the edge. I traced it once, then let it sit. Upstairs, they'd start asking questions: where I'd gone, why I hadn't returned, who had the final file. They'd make calls, check shared drives, try passwords, try mine. They'd fail. But that wasn't my concern now. People talk about betrayal like it's loud. Shouting, slammed doors, explosions. This wasn't that. This was silence. A line cut with no warning. A hand pulled back after years of holding the rope. They thought I'd built the bridge for them. They thought I'd hand it over, smile and disappear, let them think it. The deal would be signed in the morning, but not with them. The day before it all fell apart, my inbox had 92 unread messages. 4 were flagged red, all from Leo. He didn't send messages often, never more than 1 at a time, and never without cause. That was the first sign. The second was the flight list, pinned to the corner of my fridge. 7 cities, 2 months, no weekends. I updated it manually, black pen, no apps, no calendar integrations. Too easy to forget what you've given up when it's behind a swipe. Dubai was circled, final leg, no backup. 2 days earlier, I'd flown back from Stockholm on a red-eye just to be in the room for a 9 a.m. legal call, not because they needed me, but because no one else could track the clause transitions in real time. Leo knew that. He joined 6 months before. Bright, precise. The kind of young consultant who still believed architecture could be ethical. He listened more than he spoke, watched more than he asked, but you could tell what he respected. He noticed the people who didn't need to prove they were right. There was a night in Riyadh, 3:17 a.m. local, when we were the only two on a call, waiting for a ministerial delay. We didn't speak much, just updated shared notes, adjusted version tags, cross-checked metadata in silence. At one point I saw him pause. He looked over and said, "Do you ever wonder if anyone remembers who built it?" I didn't answer. I just handed him the latest clause draft. He read it, then nodded. From that night on, he started syncing 5 minutes before every meeting, like I did. Never asked why, just mirrored it. 3 weeks before Dubai, someone from the London office cracked a joke in a team call. Something about the ghost consultant who haunted their deliverables. Most people chuckled. Leo didn't. Didn't look up. Didn't change tone, just said, "He built the structure you're standing on." The line hung in the air. No one replied. They moved on, but I remembered. Leo saw things others ignored. He saw cost. A year earlier, I missed my sister's wedding. Didn't explain why, didn't apologize. Last fall, I was scheduled to present phase 2 of a contract in Geneva. 2 hours before boarding, I got a call. A friend's father, who'd been like a mentor to me, had passed. The funeral was the next day. In Vermont. Same time as the Geneva meeting, I made the flight, updated the packet mid-air. No one ever knew, except Leo. A week later, he left a note under my coffee mug. Everyone talks about leadership, some just live it. Wasn't signed, didn't need to be. There was something old school about him, like he respected the rhythm more than the reward. That's how I knew something was off when he went silent. 2 full days, no summaries, no version pings. He didn't just disappear, he was erased. I checked the team access logs. His name wasn't missing. It was overwritten. Leo K, inactively okay. Null, someone had cleared his credentials, and when I pulled up the mirrored sync, the Dubai folder was still there, intact, time-stamped, but the upload metadata had changed. A new version appeared, uploaded at 12:03 a.m. Different node, not mine, not Leo's. No changes in content, just authorship, like removing a signature from a canvas. That's when I flagged it, printed the audit trail, labeled the folder, review. Didn't say anything, didn't confront Daniel. Because sometimes confrontation is a gift, and I wasn't offering gifts anymore. I kept working. Finalized ministerial inputs, revalidated biometric certificates, readjusted encryption keys. But the flight list, that's what caught me. Next to Riyadh to Dubai, Leo's name had been penciled in beside mine. It was gone, not replaced, erased, clean, like he'd never been part of it, and I knew what that meant. They weren't just removing him, they were testing how much of me was replaceable too. That night I sat in silence. No music. No light. Just the hum of the fridge and the list in front of me. 7 cities, 7 proof points. None of them mattered anymore. But I left them there, because maps don't forget. Even when people do. It started with a password prompt, then another, then silence. The project was called Sentinel, Internal Security and Threat Protocol, designed for multi-level escalation in sensitive regions. I built it from scratch. 2 years of blind spots patched, used it in Lagos, refined it in Stockholm. Now I couldn't access it. I entered the backup credential set. Still locked. Third attempt triggered a cooldown. I waited. Clicked one more time. Permission revoked. Contact administrator. Administrator. That used to be me. I closed the tab, opened the internal comms archive, searched for the last system-wide announcement, found it. A PDF header. Strategic Oversight Team Restructure. Effective immediately. No mention of names. Just roles. Boxes shifting. My title wasn't reassigned. It was removed. No replacement. No comment. Just gone. I scrolled further. An email from Daniel to the entire International Oversight Group, titled, Appreciation for Collaboration. He wrote, Our success in Dubai reflects not just technical execution, but a spirit of collective trust. Collective trust, a phrase I had written 6 months ago, word for word, in the protocol summary for the Ministerial Committee. He used my sentence, in my place, to close my deal, and it worked. No one questioned it, no one replied, just one automated thumbs up from HR. I opened a new email to Daniel, typed, If you're going to quote me, at least get the source right. Paused, deleted it. Wrote another. I noticed the Sentinel lockout. Curious who's overseeing its risk model now. Deleted that too. Third try. Just blank. No point. I stared at the blinking cursor, then closed the draft. Sometimes silence costs less, but not nothing. I checked the version history of the Dubai framework. Not the live one, the deep logs. Version 42.7.1. It still had my embedded key phrases, still carried my checksum, but the author field had been overwritten. Authored by Daniel Locke, revised by Legal Team B. Legal Team B didn't exist 6 months ago. I helped vet its scope. Now they carried my legacy forward without knowing what it meant. I reached for the encrypted mirror, offline, verified, still mine, but I knew what this was now. This wasn't just about being cut out, it was about erasure. Daniel hadn't just taken credit, he had rewritten authorship. That's what stung, not the access. Not the title, not the calendar invitations I no longer received, but the quiet deletion, the clean one. Like someone erasing a name from the side of a building and repainting the wall like it had always been blank. There was a Slack thread from a junior consultant, asking who had come up with the contingency fallback in clause 17.4. Someone replied, Think that was Locke's team, right? Another answered, Yeah. He presented that during the Riyadh phase. Presented. Not built, not negotiated, just presented. I closed the thread, opened the shared folder, the Dubai architecture. One document was newly modified, same structure, same headers, but new initials. DLI checked the metadata. My original upload had been mirrored at 0304 UTC. Their copy, his copy, was listed at 0306. He hadn't written a single word, just duplicated, stamped, reassigned. I remembered a phrase I once wrote in a side note to Leo. Control isn't about authorship, it's about timing. Daniel had learned that from watching me, and now he was using it, against me. I tried one more system. An internal sandbox I had built for Leo to simulate breach responses. User not found. No warning, no archive, just gone. I searched the log. Entry 1278, LEO, K. Access revoked, timestamp, 02.12 a.m., 12 minutes after the mirrored Dubai file. That's when I knew. Daniel hadn't just cleared me, he'd cut Leo too. Leo never got the courtesy of a meeting, just silence, same as me. And yet no one noticed, no flags, no outrage, because we were never loud, never visible, and that's what made us easy to erase. I opened my notes, typed 2 words, kill switch, then erased that too, because I wasn't planning a burn. I was planning a record, a pattern. I started saving everything, not on the system, on cold drives, offline, redacted duplicates, originals with hash trails, sequence logs, video captures of screen, transitions, all stored, all labeled, but not shared, not yet. At exactly 03:42 a.m., my calendar refreshed. One item appeared, a team call titled, Final Dubai Coordination, Exec Oversight. I wasn't invited, but the folder was still open, still syncing. I watched. 6 names, no questions. Daniel led. He used the phrase again, the IMA, trust embedded in this framework, is a testament to our team culture. My words again. Said in a voice that never understood what they meant. He clicked through the slides like they were his, but I remembered every clause, every compromise, every version I'd deleted and rebuilt until it held. That's when it hit me. He wasn't just taking credit, he was making history. Mine, I shut the laptop, not fast, just final. Then I stood, paced once, went to the fridge. The flight list was still there, but the ink on Dubai had started to fade. I traced it with a pen, then I crossed it out. Not because I wouldn't go, but because I already had. The contract was complete. The game had moved. They thought I was out. They were wrong. Wasn't done, I was just watching, and they never saw what I did best. I didn't correct mistakes. I made them irreversible. The dossier went out at 2:17 a.m., encrypted, digitally signed, direct delivery to the ministry's secure portal. No fanfare, no message body, just the file, and the silence it carried. At 3:46, a system notification, new upload, Dubai final, submitted by D-Lock. I opened it, superficially identical. Same page count, same headers, even the cover sheet used my layout. But clause 17.6 had changed. The section that guaranteed neutral retention of framework ownership, the one I wrote, embedded, mirrored, and confirmed, was now footnoted. A legal disclaimer had been added. This clause was referenced in early drafts and may not reflect final. Negotiated intent per verbal confirmation with regional oversight. There was no record of such a conversation, no protocol note, no transcript. But now, it lived in their version history. A story, retrofitted. I scanned deeper. Line formatting had been adjusted, just enough to break the hash match, enough to cast doubt in the hands of someone scanning quickly. I opened the backup of my original version. 3 chain of custody trails, 2 offline witnesses, 1 print copy locked in a fireproof safe in Zurich. Still, the timing bothered me. 89 minutes after I filed. Not immediate, calculated. He was setting a trap. Not to beat me, to freeze me. Confusion stalls contracts, delay invites review. And Daniel had always been better at drama than design. I needed someone who spoke both. I called Marcus Patel, compliance litigator, Geneva-based. We hadn't spoken in 2 years. He picked up like it was yesterday. You wouldn't call unless it was already on fire. I told him about the clause, the upload, the overwrite attempt. He asked only one thing. Do you have the SHA chain? I did. He exhaled, then, hold. Let them bury themselves. You keep the ground clean. I hung up and opened the activity log. That's when I saw it. Line 2721, LEO, K, terminated, timestamp. 03:58 a.m. I clicked deeper. His sandbox was locked, archive wiped, all contributions scrubbed. In one of the older folders, I found a backup Leo had started. Not mirrored, just a simple offline copy, titled Failsafe. In case, 3 files, 1 notes.txt, last edited 2 days before. I opened it. No introduction. Just, if you're reading this, something broke. Use the original. He'll know what it means. I copied the entire directory, moved it into my mirror build. Leo hadn't asked for anything, hadn't warned me, he'd just prepared, like I had. At 4:12 a.m., a Slack thread appeared in Legal Ops, Daniel leading the narrative. He posted a summary. Preliminary legal guidance suggests 17.6 was included without procedural clearance. Exploring retroactive edit based on early verbal scope alignment. Bullshit, but wrapped in enough jargon to sound plausible. A junior analyst replied, "Was that clause reviewed with external counsel?" Daniel answered, "It was drafted as contingency, not active protocol." That was the pivot. Rebrand my foundation as a suggestion, then bury it. I took screenshots, exported the entire thread, archived it into the Zurich drive. They were playing speed and perception. I was playing proof. At 4:26, I opened my personal log, typed, observed, coordinated overwrite, legal narrative seeded, LEOK removed. Mirror active. Then I closed it. No flare, no flourish. Documentation is protection. At 4:58, a new email from Daniel, titled, Ministerial Clarification, Clause Review Context, CC'd to everyone but me. Inside was a slide deck, 6 pages, all mine, same phrases, same visual flow. One word changed, E-veil to D-lock. Created a side-by-side overlay, marked 7 distinctive traits that only I used, non-breaking space between section header and number, punctuation placement on technical tags, unique structuring of fallback conditionals. It was mine, even without the name. I tagged them, authenticity anchors. At 5:11, HR updated the org chart. Leo's name disappeared. No explanation. He wasn't moved. He wasn't reassigned. He was gone, like he'd never existed. Opened his sandbox one last time. All files had been auto-deleted. I saw it live, one by one. File icons faded out. The last to go was called Framework Spinal.v3. It flashed, then vanished. I didn't blink, didn't move, just watched. Sometimes the only resistance left is observation. By 6:02, Marcus called again. I've seen their thread weak. If they move to hearing, they'll fold. But don't respond yet. I asked, can they delay the signing? He said, not unless they introduce ambiguity. You've removed it. I nodded, silently. At 6:37, I activated the mirror, split the folder, encrypted half under a dead company I'd registered 6 years prior, sent the other to a private vault, ownership embedded in clause 17.6. Line 3, 14 words unedited. 14 words only 2 people knew meant anything. Me and Leo. The clause that carried those words was now live again, not in their systems, but in the hands that mattered. The ministry would see both versions. 1. Built, 1 borrowed. Let them decide which legacy to sign. The contract was supposed to be signed at 9 a.m. It wasn't. At 9:03, no confirmation. 07. Nothing. By 9:11, the ministry portal showed a new entry. Not Daniel's, mine signed. Stamped. Processed through the official procurement chain. Clause 17.6. Untouched. Exactly as written. 14 words. Buried in the 3rd. Paragraph of the 12th page. I didn't refresh the page again, didn't smile, just minimized the window. At 9:17, Daniel sent a message. Did you do this? No punctuation, no introduction, just confusion, sharp and direct. I didn't answer. 10 minutes later, another email. This time from one of the legal advisors he'd looped in last week. The subject line read, Urgent, Framework Authorization. Conflict. I opened it. The body was just one question. Was this submission previously vetted by counsel? No signature, no timestamp trail, just legal fishing. I archived it, let them fish. At 9:42, Marcus called. They're scrambling. Define scrambling, I said. Daniel tried to call someone at the ministry. They didn't answer. Word is, they're treating it as closed, logged and locked. I didn't reply. They'll try to delay the press release, maybe claim there's a dispute pending. Let them, I said. Do you want to file a public record of authorship? Could bury his credibility. I took a breath. I could have buried him, that's why I didn't. Marcus was quiet for a second. Then, understood. He hung up. At 10:12, a journalist reached out. Her name was Riley. I'd met her once during a cybersecurity summit in Oslo. She'd somehow gotten hold of the contract logs. Knew 2 versions had been submitted. Knew mine had been signed. Is it true you inserted the retention clause? I replied, yes. Are you planning to go public? No. This could be career-defining, she said. Daniel Locke just got reassigned. If you speak now, you control the narrative. I paused, then typed, I didn't write clause 17.6 to be quoted. I wrote it to be honored. She sent back a question mark. Then, can I at least confirm the timeline? I didn't answer. The message sat unread for the rest of the day. At 11:24, the internal repository updated. The signed contract appeared in the shared executive folder. No fanfare, no announcement. I downloaded the file, checked the metadata. The signature on the bottom wasn't mine, but the structure was. I searched. The text. There it was. Clause 17.6, with the 14-word retention line embedded in the footer. Still formatted in my structure. Still carrying my logic tree. Still mine. I printed the page, one copy, folded it twice, slid it into a small envelope. No label. I added it to the drawer in my desk marked, in case. At noon, Leo sent a message. Just 2 words. Saw it. No emoji, no punctuation, just confirmation. I replied, mirror. Held. He didn't answer. Didn't need to. I opened the account summary. The transfer had cleared $42,000, exact marked as direct payment, independent technical framework consultant. No questions asked, no follow-up needed. The name on the deposit matched the retention clause. Not a company, not a group, just mine. At 1:03 p.m., Daniel's access was removed from the International Systems dashboard. It wasn't a termination, just a restructure, but in the logs the word used was clearer, revoked. He didn't message again, he didn't need to. At 1:19 Marcus followed up. They've shut it down on their side. No litigation, no press release. I replied, good. He added, they're offering you a seat on the advisory board. Name your scope. I didn't answer. At 2:04 p.m. I opened the mirror folder one last time. Every file in place, no corruption, no external access, no edits. I created one last file, final state txt. Inside I wrote, clause 17.6 held, legacy restored, no, retaliation, no noise. Then I closed the folder, disconnected the drive, filed it next to the envelope. 2 layers, 2 records, neither meant to be seen, only to exist. At 3:17 p.m., I brewed coffee, the same kind I'd been making since Stockholm. Black unlabeled jar. No one else drinks it. I stood in silence. In the distance, someone outside was speaking on a phone. I couldn't hear the words. Didn't need to. I knew what they were trying to explain, what no one could trace. What no one had seen happen, but had, because I hadn't made a scene, hadn't called a meeting, hadn't pushed a headline. I just wrote it once and made it unerasable. I didn't change the locks, didn't move cities, didn't redesign anything. I just removed the drive, wrapped it in blackout fabric, labeled it with a single line, executed. Do not duplicate. Then I placed it in a plain metal box, same one I'd used for old prototypes. I added 3 more items, a chipped USB from Geneva labeled Draft V1.1, my lanyard from the Stockholm project, the envelope containing clause 17.6, printed and folded on the lid. I wrote, things they forgot. No one would see it. No one needed to. I brewed coffee. Same blend as always. No sugar. No label. The news cycle moved on. The $42 million transfer triggered a few internal audits, but the clause held. Neutral, silent, irrevocable. By the time Daniel tried to schedule a review meeting, his access had been downgraded to observer. His camera didn't turn on. At 9:11 a.m. the next morning, I received a contract draft from a global telecom group. They offered a 7-figure retainer, standard terms, clear scope, tightly written, but the retention clause was missing. I sent back one request, insert 17.6 as is. They pushed back, tried to simplify, tried to reword. I replied with one line. 14 words. They're not negotiable. 2 hours later they agreed, not because they understood, but because something in the silence told them it mattered. I updated my own archive. Folder name, Structured Legacy, version 0.01 modified by Ethan Vale. That's all it said. Around noon I stepped out, first time in weeks, walked 3 blocks east, turned left at the alley behind the old logistics office, past the building where Daniel used to park. His name was still on the assigned plaque, but his car wasn't there. A younger executive stepped out of the lobby, pressed against a phone, holding a contract folder, hair tight. Movements sharp. He looked almost like I had 10 years ago, except louder. I kept walking, stopped by the coffee shop where Leo and I once sketched the original retention framework. The table was gone, but the wall still had the stain from the old water leak. Inside, a printed flyer hung near the bar. Legacy is what they remember when you're not there. Probably an ad campaign. Probably unintentional. Still, I noticed. Back at the apartment, the air was still. I opened the mirror folder one last time. Didn't change anything. Just looked. The architecture was intact. Version control was perfect. Clause 17.6 remained exactly where I left it. Line 213, 14 words. I added a single note beneath it. No revisions. No erasure. Then I closed it. Outside, the afternoon traffic picked up. Someone was arguing on the street. It didn't matter. The game had ended days ago. There was no press release. No internal recognition. No awards. Just presence. And in one case, its absence. They'd called it a legacy gift. They had no idea whose legacy it really was. The gentleman's revenge isn't loud, but it's always personal. If this felt personal, make it personal. Subscribe now, and don't miss tomorrow's story.